Right, here I am. Yeah, actually in Orwell, I'm going to ride the bike out. Look what I'm on. This is going to be a very different video to normal, as you can imagine. Yeah, can you believe it? Yeah, two classics out together. What a pair. Two old blokes. But yeah, here at Orwell's, there's Molly getting a picture for social media, I should imagine. Yeah. Right, I'll catch you when we're doing the walk around and I'll explain more. Right, here we are. Yeah, as I said, this is a little bit of a special review of the Classic 350 and the Classic 650. And not only that, I've got one of the owners of Orwell with us on the Classic 650, so we're going to get his opinion of both bikes because we're going to switch halfway around. Hopefully he's now muttering about the senses and how he feels about that Classic 650. As you know, I'm on the Classic 350, and you know what I feel about this in Paddington Bear Brown, but with a touch of cappuccino or latte mixed in instead of the chrome. Just wonderful. A very relaxing bike. You also know that I've been trying to decide whether to buy a Classic 650, and you know, the main point for me of Royal Enfield Classic is the feeling it gives you, the way it makes you feel. You've heard all my senses. I'm not going to go over the senses on this bike. If you haven't seen them before, you should pop back and watch my other videos on the Classic 350. Crikey, this road's a bit bumpy. So yeah, so what I'll do is I will bring you back at the walk round when we're going to have an opportunity to talk about both bikes briefly, and then we're going to head off again. We're going to switch bikes and we're going to repeat. Yeah, so it might be a little bit of a longer video than usual, but hopefully you'll find it interesting. Yeah, marvellous.
So it's a bright day, 26th of July, just leaving Ipswich via the Henley Road, riding the Royal Enfield 650 Classic. It's a great bike. I have the pleasure of riding plenty of motorbikes, and I know this road really well because I was brought up in Suffolk, and this was my main route into Ipswich to actually visit what used to be called Bicker's Motorcycles. I was brought up in Otley, so I know this road really well. Nice sweeping bends here. You may have noticed the 30-mile-an-hour limit, which we are obviously complying with. Crossing the point where the big electric cables are being put in to take power out of Sizewell. Approaching the national limit again to sweep down the hill and through a couple of brilliant S-bends. Sort of purring along here in fourth gear. Very, very willing 650cc engine, and you don't really need to be chopping through the gears, and it really does just have a lovely feel. Just a little bit of pressure on the bars, the bike just tracks around the bends. I am going to change down just for a little bit more drive out of this bend, but it really does feel smooth, very, very lovely. The old garage here in Henley, about 40 years ago, actually used to keep a few motorcycles, and I don't doubt they probably sold a few Royal Enfields. Not quite the bikes we're riding now, slightly more different version. But one of the things about this Royal Enfield that people don't really know is that actually Royal Enfield have been in partnership with the Indian holding company since 1955. So it's actually a really long established relationship. All of the testing for these bikes is done in Bruntingthorpe, and the engine development is fantastic. They are so reliable. And then another interesting feature is that as part of their motorcycle and brand development, Royal Enfield actually bought Harris frames. So actually all of the design that goes into the frames is all from that Harris know-how. And actually it really does pay off, because the bikes just track round the corners really well. It is about taking some time out for yourself sometimes, isn't it? A number of people that come into the shop and say to me, I haven't taken the bike out, and now I've been out on it today, I'm regretting the fact I haven't taken it out more. There's an answer to that. Take it out. I suppose you could say there's an element of being selfish about that. But surely everybody deserves a day off. Everybody deserves a little bit of time out. And what better way to do that than just riding through the beautiful Suffolk countryside on a classic 650 Royal Enfield. We're just going to skirt through the village. Been a brilliant ride out from Ipswich. Absolutely amazing 650 engine on this bike. Makes you take your time, have a look around, but if you need to get past somebody, more than enough oomph to get past them. When we stop up the road here, going to be jumping off the 650 and onto the 350, and that'll be quite an interesting little change, because even though the 350 is a willing little bike, it is half the horsepower and half the torque. But as you can see, it gets along okay, because I'm looking at it. There's not much wrong with that. Pulling along at 60, just what you need. Just what you need. Good to look at, good to see. And it is a fantastic looking bike actually. Really looking forward to jumping on the 350. But I've thoroughly enjoyed riding this 650, and this village we're going through here, you can just imagine 60, 70 years ago someone riding through here on a Royal Enfield, and that engine note wouldn't be that much different. That wouldn't be that much different.
Right, here we are. Before I do anything else, I've got to introduce Andrew, who, without Andrew, I wouldn't be riding any bikes, because he's part owner of Orwell Motorcycles, but I don't want you to talk to him at the moment, because what I want to talk about first is the little classic 350. Obviously, I've ridden it so many times now. I absolutely love it. I know it's underpowered, 20 brake horsepower or thereabouts, and I can't remember, something like 23 newton meters of torque, something like that. But it only weighs 200 kilos, something like that, and I think that's sopping wet. Obviously, you know that it's got tubed wheels, bi-bree brakes. It's just stunning. But we'll talk more about it after Andrew's ridden it, because Andrew had the pleasure of riding the classic 650 all the way here. And if you think you've got to put this in context, Andrew can ride any bike he wants. Yeah, he's got a shop full. But what I want to do is I just want to let Andrew tell us what he thinks of this classic 650, because you know, again, what I think of it, but you're going to find out a bit more after we've switched bikes and have another little chatter. Andrew, classic 650, is it a case of I liked it so much I bought the shop?
Not far off. My business partner, Mr. Willis, and I went to the NEC show at the back end of 2024, and they had this bike in this colour on the stand. And I said straight away to Mr. Willis that I was going to buy that bike. Yeah, the shop had already been bought, so yeah, it wasn't quite that, but not far off.
So, had you ridden one of these?
I've ridden that bike many times, but I always go for this because I just love the colour scheme. Yeah, I just love the colour scheme. And yeah, that is one of those sort of blessings, if you like, of being able to take whichever bike out you like. Yeah, but I'm going to be interested to see a direct comparison, because what I've never done is ride that and then jump straight onto that.
Okay.
So that would be a good thing to do.
So, why do you ride? Why do you ride a bike?
Right, well, we're stood in a field in the middle of Suffolk, about literally 5 minutes away from where I was brought up. So I was brought up in a village called Otley in the middle of nowhere. And from the age of 11, we were breaking down old Honda Crunch mopeds and tracking them around the fields. And then we moved on to a few more sort of Yamaha dirt bikes and just chasing them around the fields. And it was just a way to escape from a sort of village life. And from the age of 12, I actually worked on a farm. Farmers called the Holmeses, who were literally just over the back here. And yeah, had access to miles and miles of fields and just fell in love with it from the age of 11 or 12, just motorcycling.
It's a very similar story to mine. We bought old Bantams and stuff and in boxes and built them and had them as field bikes. But why do you ride now?
So it's time out. It's time out. Just I'm hopefully a reasonably competent rider, but I have a busy life and a busy world that I kind of, mess about in, and I just get on a bike and I am utterly focused on what is going on with it. I'm quite a precise rider. I quite enjoy all the whole thing about road positioning and, how to create the best kind of thing you can do in terms of the ride. And yeah, I just enjoy it. I just absolutely love it. And it could be something, a KTM 1390 to a 350 Royal Enfield. Every bike, same mindset, same feeling, just pleasure and enjoyment. And probably, truthfully, there's an element of just being selfish, because it's just you and it doing something you enjoy.
Yeah. You put the helmet on and the rest of the world disappears.
Absolutely.
You're in this new world.
Exactly.
So for me, everyone will know, when I ride this, I find it like a therapist. I'm inside, I have this horrible naughty boy that always wants to get out. But when I ride one of these, it shuts me off from that, and I don't want to, and I find time to admire the road, think about road position a bit more, think about the countryside, notice what's going on in the world whilst being excluded from it. Now, this is a lot more powerful. 47 brake horsepower.
Yep.
53 newton meters of torque.
Exactly.
Is there something, if a punter comes into your shop and says, well, I want a bike just to chill, do you send them to this one or to this one?
Well, some of that comes down to how much money they want to spend on their therapist. Okay, so if that's your therapist, you're doing quite nicely there at something over around about 4,500. And if you want to go for an upgrade of the therapy, perhaps that's why you go with the 650. But I would say that would be a very, very good price.
But there's only £2,200. That's 6,799, I think, and this is 4,595.
Yeah.
So it's only a couple of £1,000, which, they're already cheap, aren't they, Royal Enfields? Before you start, good value. Yeah, not cheap. Sorry, we have this discussion quite a lot. But does this, because you have ridden it before,
Yep,
give you what that gives you, or does that give you something more?
Oh, that is a good question. It does everything that does. It does.
Good answer. And I reckon on that, because we're not going to go over the spec, that's boring. We all know what they are. You've seen hundreds of videos on them. We're now going to switch, and you're going to have the 350, and I'm going to have the 650, and we'll go and grab a coffee down the road, if that's all right.
Perfect.
And you can do a mutter on this and talk about this directly off that as to how you feel, and whether you're actually frustrated by the lack of power, whether that extra 27 brake horsepower interferes with your selfish time.
Yeah, okay. I will very willingly do that. Look forward to it.
Excellent. Right, let's get going then.
Okay.
Right, yeah, so that's Andrew, a marvellous chap with a hell of a story to tell, I tell you. And maybe one day we can have a sit down in the office and talk about it all. Yeah, I reckon. There we go. So for me, I wanted to know whether this is as relaxing as the 350. And for me, I'm not sure it is. You know already a few of the issues I have with this, so I'm not going to repeat those. And what I'll do is I'll be cutting to Andrew and see what he says about the 350, and I'll catch you in a little while.
So here we go. I've just jumped off the 650 and straight onto the 350, because we're doing a comparison here of how these two bikes feel and how they make you feel. Because riding a Royal Enfield, it is all about how you feel. And straight away, it feels so much smaller and nimble, but actually, the reduction in power just doesn't matter a jot. It really doesn't. Because this is just fun. Really fun. The engine just does exactly what it needs to do. Just riding here through this little beautiful Suffolk village, just pulls there. Just need to get past this bus, because I'm not going to follow that all the way to Ipswich. Come on, missus. Now look at that for a sight in Suffolk. Someone getting married there with a horse and dray in the village of Grunsborough. Very nice. Just pulling out of Grunsborough. But you can imagine someone riding a Royal Enfield through Grunsborough 60 years ago. And in fact, I used to know a man who did. And they used to call him Wheels. And he didn't used to wear a helmet back then either. So here we go. Just riding up through the village. Making our way back to Ipswich. And this bike makes you feel like you're doing something you shouldn't be doing. And that's a good thing, because it just feels fun. It really feels fun. And these lovely little roads are exactly what it's good for, because you don't want to be doing 80 or 90 down here. 50 or 60 is more than enough. And actually, the brakes on it are good. The steering's really short and precise, and it just makes you, literally makes you laugh. It's hilarious. Who knew you could have so much fun with 20 horsepower? There you go. And actually that's a really cool little engine note there as well. Colfu. I wonder how you're supposed to say that. Colfu? Colfu. I don't know and I don't care. I'm sure someone does know. Look at that thatch cottage. Beautiful. this camera's facing forwards, so you can't see the look on my face, but the look on my face is of a great big smile, because this is hilarious, absolutely hilarious. Listen to that. Plenty of unnecessary gear changes, because you don't have to do the gear changes. It's very torquey actually. Pulls really nicely in 3rd and 4th gear. Don't really need to change down, but I just like doing it for the fun of it. This is a lovely bit of road. And here we are. Look at the sunflowers. And that would put a smile on your face too. Field of sunflowers. Perhaps that should be the symbol for this bike. Here we go. Good old boy. Bugger off. Pulling through Tottenham. Wake up, Tottenham. Afternoon rest. Not so restful. There we go. Down to 1st gear. Listen to that. There we go. There we go. Nice to hear that engine against those trees. And if that doesn't make you smile, you might not have got a soul.
Right, not far now to the calf when we'll have a little look. I've just been riding this, and of course we're in traffic and it's quite difficult to overtake, so we're hung back, and quite frankly we haven't been over sort of 45, 50. And the 350 easily does that, but this does actually seem quite relaxing, because you're tickling the revs. It's all very, very easy, and you can feel the extra power, and it is actually quite pleasant. I like it. I'll be interested to see what Andrew says riding the 350, if he's gone the other way, if he's thinking actually no, this 350 is just enough. Yeah, but anyway, I'll bring you back in a little while. So here we are at Heskerton, little farm shop, all sorts of stuff, and a wonderful cafe. Absolutely marvellous. Right, here we are at Barn Caff. Absolutely marvellous. Just had a bacon butty, courtesy of Andrew. Absolutely wonderful.
You're welcome.
And I had a cappuccino, which reminds me of the 350. I don't know why, that brown and creamy colour.
No idea.
But yeah, I obviously loved my ride over here on the 650, and I actually had a little bit of a mutter, because I actually liked it more than I did the last time I rode it.
Oh really? Okay.
Primarily because we were sort of a bit stuck for speed as well. You were a bit stuck for speed even more because you were riding that, so you tell me what you think of that, having had all this power, more than double the power, double the torque. How did you find it?
Well, I absolutely loved it, and it was a great comparison jumping straight off the 650 and straight onto the 350. But it actually really made me smile because it's a much shorter steering action, and it's actually a bike you can ride really easily. Yeah, and I think that's what came over most to me. It was just so easy to ride and such fun. And it actually feels a lot lighter than it actually is. So you can flick it through the corners and it does absolutely everything you need. And the short steering action coming out of some of the tight junctions we were coming out of was actually brilliant, and you don't need any more power. So it's definitely not underpowered. So no, really enjoyed it. I was smiling all the way here. It was superb. Yeah, loved it.
So you talked about a lot of the technicalities of riding, about how it handled, but for me, for this bike, it's the emotional connection. It's the what it does to your endorphins, what it does inside your head, and about making you, how you perceive the world and your life even. Exactly. It sounds ridiculous. I did one video where I called it a philosopher.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, how do you feel about that?
Well, I've told you before that I ride so I can basically zone out of the rest of my life and just focus on something where I don't have to think too much, just doing the doing as opposed to all of the thinking. And actually, in that kind of way, yeah, you've used the word therapy, I've used the word therapy. It was a very therapeutic ride. It just felt great fun. And it also reminded me of doing things that you probably shouldn't be doing. And on the basis we rode through Otley, okay, it really felt like going back to childhood, riding on the roads on bikes, and I definitely didn't have insurance, tax, or a license.
So doing lots of naughty things.
Exactly. Yeah. So no, that was a great throwback. Great fun. Great fun.
That's, for me, that's what Royal Enfield does. It takes me back. On this bike, it's that engine, that gearbox whine. And yes, maybe that gearbox whine is reminding me of a Ford Anglia going up Rosedale. But that's what it's about. They are about the senses. I spoke to you before about the 5 senses, and then, of course, that 6th sense being the sum total of all of them. How would you sum up riding these two bikes?
Well,
which would you pick? All right, I'm going to put you on the spot.
Well, well, that's an unfair question, because that is probably my favourite bike, but I have really enjoyed riding that. And I think if you're just going to have something, you just want to go out for literally, you know, miles of smiles, that's probably actually the bike. You'd be going a bit further on this. So that would be just the bike for smiles, I think.
So there you go. You already know my views on both these bikes. I also happen to know that Andrew has ordered one of these as well. So it was a preloaded question. But on that note, I hope you've enjoyed the video. A little bit different. And I hope, Andrew, we can do this again, perhaps Absolutely. With a couple of different bikes.
Definitely.
And you'll get a different perspective. Yeah. So with that, we're going to get going. Ta-ta.
Thank you.
Right, here we go. Yeah, look at that. Art gallery and everything. Like I say, I'm very thankful to Andy for obviously everything Orwell do, letting us have the bikes and stuff. And it's great to have him out to get his view of the bike. And just listen to that little 350. Yeah. You know, it's each to their own, and I'm sure you're all capable of making up your own mind. Looks like it's going to rain, so I'll leave it there. Yeah, as I said, I hope you enjoyed this little video. I'm going to enjoy the ride back now on the Classic 650. Marvellous.